Okay, I want to start off by saying that story is not everything. All right, let's start back like a couple weeks ago. My girlfriend and I went on this great little trip to Elora Gorge, and I shot this really beautiful video. I was playing around with my new camera, and I got this like really nice cinematic video, and I cut it all together when I got home, and I was happy with it, and I was able to apply the idea that it was a story into it, right? I went to take a look at it, I'm like, yeah, there's a story there, which I do with every video project I do, and I'm sure you do the same thing, where it's like you look at your project, you're like, okay, there's a story. Story is key. And when you think of story, at least in my head, I think like, okay, there's a beginning, middle, and end. There's the intro, which is us getting to the space, and then the middle, which was us exploring the space, seeing new things, it's beautiful, and then the end, which was like the tying all the strings together and me seeing probably one of the best sunsets that I've seen all year.
It's like the most beautiful place I've been in, definitely throughout 2018.
So there was a story attached to this, and when I finished the edit, I thought, okay, this is something, this is an idea that was constructed together, but the more I watched, the more I looked at it, I thought there's nothing really here outside of like just pretty imagery. And I had just essentially just said that there was a story involved, but really there was nothing beyond that. And so I went to take another look at the project and thought, well, how can I make this so it has a bit more of an impact? And I think for me as an artist, at least for 2018, every single project I want to get into, I want to have a educational impact on somebody. So, and I think it's a really wise decision to think about how you're affecting somebody in your video. So I went to take a look at the project, thought, okay, how can I have an impact on this story? So I thought what would really mean a lot to me is if I built and expanded this and actually did something for somebody, help benefit their day, make them feel better.
So right now we are at Cambridge Memorial Hospital where my grandma is currently staying. Hey.
Raven and I went out and we visited my grandmother and showed her this video on a projector in her hospital room. And immediately it made me feel all warm and fuzzy, and then when I compiled that story together, it made a lot of people online and anybody who watched the video feel warm and fuzzy. It was a really rewarding experience as an artist. I felt so amazing. I had made a piece of content that was beneficial for the people in it, as well as beneficial for the people watching it. So then I looked at that experience, I said, this was a great filmmaking experience for me. And the reason why I think it was such a better narrative was because I stopped looking at it as a story and I started looking at it as a message. And I think it's a really useful method to start looking at your projects. Look at it as a message. What is the information or inspiration or idea that you're trying to provide to your audience? Inspiration, information. Remember that all of the content that you're creating, every single piece of work, video, whatever, is influencing somebody by some way. It could be negatively, it could be positively, it could be inspiring them to go travel, or it could be inspiring them to help out their grandmother when they're in the hospital. But I think it's beneficial to not just go into a video being like, I'm just gonna shoot a bunch of stuff, cut it together, and make it like a really cool cinematic experience, and then, yeah, the video's about me traveling. I think now there's so much content out there now that I think we have to start approaching videos not from looking at it as just a compiled story, but start looking at it as a compiled message. What is the idea that you're trying to tell to your audience and influence them by? So back to my original story, I looked at the project and I said, look, there's no message to this. The biggest message that I could possibly pull out of this is to maybe explore a little bit more. So I took that and I thought I'm gonna tag on this message of, it was actually directed towards a lot of my family members to go visit my grandmother in the hospital and to appreciate her. So I thought this is a message that I'm gonna send to at least my family and friends. I'm gonna at least send it to my family, and if they get something out of it, that's great. So Raven and I went, we filmed this experience. It was a really wonderful thing and I was so happy about it. And I just felt so much more satisfied out of that filmmaking experience. And not only did it send a message to my family and friends, but it also sent a message to people who don't know my grandmother, people who don't know me that well, but it made them feel really warm and fuzzy. And so that is something that I think you as an artist, and I know you're a talented filmmaker, start thinking about the message before the story. I'm not saying story isn't important. I think story is incredibly important, but if I would imagine the story is the vessel and the message is the information that you're trying to provide to your audience. So documentaries do this really well. They think of a message before going into a story, but I would even say this would work really well for narratives. So let's say you're doing like a science fiction story like Black Mirror. Think about what's the message that you're trying to like compile together within that, and then attach it to some crazy science fiction Twilight Zone type story. And so that is, in my eyes, the most compelling content that's being created right now, that there's more than just a random little idea and then beautiful visuals attached to it. There's lots going on in there. Anyways, guys, hopefully that made sense to you. I mean, this has been rolling around in my brain a little bit, and I wanted to just kind of express my feelings towards telling narratives, not building a narrative off of story, but creating solid foundations with a great message. There's a lot of good stories out there now, and again, I think it's pretty easy to come up with a simple story, but it's hard to pair the two of a message and a story together. Thanks for watching. If you like what you're seeing on this YouTube channel, you want to learn a little bit more, or hear me blabble on about storytelling and movie making and my experience as an artist, hit that like button, give me a subscribe. That would mean a whole heck of a lot. Start following me, hit the little bell down there too. You can get updates of these videos when they come out. And yeah, let me know what you think about narrative storytelling, and maybe I was just rambling gibberish. I'd love to hear you argue with this. So let me know what you think in that comment section below. I'll see you guys later, and keep making some great stuff, guys.